Because your questions will be, but she was flirting with me. No, you interpreted her illusions of, if I act this way, I will feel comfortable. And if I feel comfortable, he will make a move on me. And if he makes a move on me, I will have an ego boost. And that is all I wanted. Now that I got what I wanted, I am okay where I am because I feel like I am the one who rejected you. It's also an illusion that makes me feel like I am connected, I have the power, I belong, someone also wants me, someone validated me, for it gives me that ego boost. But now, if you make a move on Hannah, then she will ask herself, he doesn't know his zone. And the zone is to do what? To vibe and laugh back. Which means, if you vibe and laugh with an expectation that the relationship will exist, she already has the upper hand. But if you laugh sometimes and then you vibe sometimes without expecting a relationship, the same time you know your boundary because you know your perception of reality, not on her reality, but on a reality that exists with the oneself. The existence of a whole oneself without everyone else's existence and creating space between other things and hers, you have the upper hand. And you will realize that they might end up liking you more. And in the process of liking you more, vibing with you, you end up noticing that you are burning out of energy. Then that is a higher chance that you are trying so hard to please her or to accommodate her in your space. That is why your body is communicating to you in a certain way and you feel like you are draining. Or you expect something, or you don't want her to show up, but in a subconscious way. Or maybe you don't even like her, but you do not know. You think that vibing and accommodating her allows you to also belong in that same existence in a psychological world, because that makes you feel safe. Yet it's just a perception, but you are acting, responding, doing things in a subconscious way because that is the data stream that you are using to access information. Different types of information are presented to you, Isaac, by women. Like I said, there is no sexy, there is no attractive, there is no confidence, only perception of what exists on the physical world. And we choose which information we can get from the women who present themselves to us, because we already have those informations. So if we are in a state of fear, or we are in a state of belief system, then we choose to interpret that information in a specific state that will match with our fear, which is maybe rejection because the body it's in a flight and fight mode. Or we choose the information to be I said fear and what? Come on, remind me. I said fear and what? Wow! Fear, wow! If your body believe, wow! Look at me now. So, if your belief system, that is the data that your mind holds, which is sexy, attractive, confident, and you like her makeup, you like how she smiles, right? Then your belief system that if she has figure 8, that is boobs and ass, they are popping, that is a confirmation that maybe she is sexy. Then this confirms that you are attracted to her because she is sexy. But you have a relationship with the word sexy and figure 8. If you want to have a marriage with this lady, you have to understand her first, and maybe you have to understand your analyzation in a biological way, whereby she looks this way. There is a possibility that in the near future we can have kids, but it's not guaranteed, right? That is the only definition. But when you go in a psychological world, applying the metaphors that she's sexy and attractive, then you have a relationship with the words. Then that simulation that will exist in your state of being is being driven by a perception of sexy and attractive. And she knows that because of how you look at her. You vibe with her, you make her move, and she can easily sense your energy, because most women are intuitive, so they can feel the energy, if it's negative or positive, if it's reciprocating or acting too nice. So women are more intuitive than men. Men are more intellectual, which is logic, and being logic, it's the drug, it's the code to the existence of what we call attractive and sexy. When we are communicating, Isaac, I am either conversing with you to pass information or to infect you with a disease or inject you with a disease. And the disease can be psychologically or emotionally. If you are willing, again, if you are willing to only pick that information or that disease from me and accept it, because you are also suffering but you are not aware, or your perception is the reason why I will easily infect you in a certain way. And if I can infect you emotionally, you can react, you can respond, and maybe you can make a move on me, then I am infecting you emotionally, but in an energetic way, which is just a metaphor whereby you identified and realized my energy because of your state of being. And that doesn't mean that because you can see and feel my energy that it entirely means that you have to make a move. But I will influence you to make a move on me depending on how I will insist, and also use the tone and the nuance in a more frequent way that is more engaging, and it creates a comfortable environment for me to feel like I also belong, and I can also have a conversation with a different gender, for that makes me feel wanted, attractive, and also validated. Women do not need this to survive, but they think they do. That is why they end up acting too nice. Yet, if she is acting too nice, extremely too nice, and even flirting with you, then she makes a move on you verbally, then there is also a possibility that she is trying to understand her state of being, and your existence is also triggering her state of being. And the only way she can understand more is to influence you, help her deal with her own feelings, but she's not aware of this. And at this very moment, at this very time, this is when everything will crumble the quickest. What men don't understand is when your body is operating on a sympathetic nervous system, you are not aware of that, and it's just on a flight and fight mode. That is why you have to fix, you have to do something, you have to adjust. But it's because your nervous system has been triggered and it's not calm. But the brain doesn't know that it is your nervous system. Your brain thinks there is a problem. And because it identifies it as a problem or something I must reciprocate, adjust, or I must work on myself so that she can come back, the brain thinks that when it fixes and it acts on that, things will happen in ways the brain is used to, because the brain doesn't want to explore the unknown territory, which is the empty space. And if you are attached to Hannah, or how you interpreted Hannah triggered you in a certain way because of your feelings and emotions that you aren't aware of, because you were never aware of, but your body was just saving it in your subconscious mind. That is the data stream. Then this is a confirmation that she has the upper hand. Because if you aren't aware that your subconscious mind is being accessed by Hannah, but indirectly, because you are allowing it to happen, for she is giving you the tools and the information, and you choose which information makes sense to you. And if it makes sense to my beliefs or to what I think it is a fact or it is the truth, then that is the truth. If she flirts with you, let's label it as flirting, because that is how you see it. Upon reciprocating, you end up even smashing and sleeping with Hannah, right? Because it happened, then it is true that Hannah was into you. No. That is the trap right there. What if maybe Hannah thought that reciprocating makes her feel more comfortable, or maybe she can deal with her own shit, or maybe she can get to pass time with you. She never intended to, but because reciprocated to her flirting skills, this is the chance she can get herself a fuckboy, a guy she can just pass time with. Now, this is a confirmation that she is in a negative frequency. And the law of polarity is directing you to Hannah because you are also in a negative state of frequency, or your body is on a sympathetic nervous system, flight and fight. And it needs to fix reciprocate, which means it's also on a negative state of being, and you cannot just exist. You must belong, you must act, and the nature of oneself doesn't really exist. You have already destroyed it. Pain, understanding, or maybe that is your coping mechanism. But if you couldn't have just reciprocated or made a move on Hannah, or maybe entertained her flirting and just understand her language is a language, then she could have understood you differently, but later on respected you, and maybe it might even trigger her to get obsessed with you, depending on in which state of being she is in. Okay? And the obsession, it is just a feedback loop to you, and that obsession, it is the questioning. She is in the psychological world, and the questions are coming in waves, and she wants to understand something. That is why she is consistently in a negative state of being, trying to understand, stalking you, laughing, and even coming too close every time she sees you, because you are pulling back. And she's doing this in a psychological way. I must get this. She doesn't know, or she knows that the only way she can feel like she belongs is to insist. Not because she wants to have a relationship, but feeling like she belongs validates her, and it gives her a false perception. For example, if I am in a specific energy, that is the state of being that I am in, and I am interpreting people by energy and not words, not body language, but the vibe, that is what I am going to experience. I can see the negative energy, I can see the positive energy, I can see the flirting energy, right? And at this very moment, I am choosing to only receive information through energy and nothing logical. Now I am relying entirely on my intuitive side, whereby I can only act on energy because I can receive that energy. But the brain doesn't know, and the brain will end up suffering. It will be too much for you. But if you are aware of that habit, then it becomes a state where preparing your mind to later on may be here. But it's a process on its own, whereby I have to act in ways that I think is safe, but I am also aware that it's just a perception and it's a tool to allow my mind to heal. But now the thing is, a period of time, a specific period of time in a psychological world, it doesn't heal. It creates conflict, division, and chaos. Now from that psychological state of being, I move to either energetic state of being, because the psychological state of being, it's too harsh for me. And I am consistently in noise, asking questions, listening to myself. I am never silent. The mind is entirely suffering. It's never silent. But the brain hasn't seen things or faced the reality head on and removed the space between you and the words, you and people, you and the car. Because the one question that I have to ask you today, Isaac, can you observe? Can you look at the trees, at the car, without seeing it as beautiful, as you don't like the color of that car? Can you look at them without using beautiful? I don't like how it looks, disappointing, shapeless. Now, if outwardly you cannot look without that, then inwardly you are not going to access your one nature self without a sense of power, a sense of I am this person.